Genesis chapter 11. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said to one another, Go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven. And let us make a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old, and begat Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after he begat Arphaxad 500 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Arphaxad lived 35 years, and begat Selah. And Arphaxad lived after he begat Selah 403 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Selah lived 30 years, and begat Aber. And Selah lived after he begat Aber 403 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Aber lived 34 years, and begat Peleg. And Aber lived after he begat Peleg 430 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Peleg lived 30 years, and begat Reu. And Peleg lived after he begat Reu 209 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Reu lived 230 years, and begat Serug. And Reu lived after he begat Serug 207 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Serug lived 30 years, and begat Nahor. And Serug lived after he begat Nahor 200 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Nahor lived 29 years, and begat Terah. And Nahor lived after he begat Terah 119 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Terah lived 70 years, and begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran begat Lot. And Lot died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity, in Ur of the Chaldees. And Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Ischa. But Sarai was barren; she had no child. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife. And they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. And they came into Haran, and dwelt there. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. Chapter 11. The whole earth was one language. The people found a plain in Shinar, and dwelt there. The people decided to build a brick and mortar city and tower to reach heaven. They also decided to name themselves, just in case they became scattered over earth. God came to the tower to observe. And what's significant about verse 6, it says here the people are one. Nothing will be restrained from them that they imagine. So even Even God says, if all people can get on one accord, nothing will be restrained from them that they can imagine. And then in verse 7, God comes down and says, let us confound or confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. Verse 8, the Lord scattered them, did not complete the city. The people didn't complete the city because they were scattered, because they didn't understand each other. So the city was called Babel because the Lord confused the language, then scattered them abroad. After that, we have another wonderful epic catalog detailing Noah's descendants, Shem. So Shem had Arphaxad when he was 100. This is 2 years after the flood. He had other sons and daughters, and then it says here he lived 500 more years after that. So before, when we were seeing the Bible was giving us the dates or the time that they died, like they died at this age, they died at this age. This is just saying after they had a child, after they produced a new lineage, they lived a certain more years. So Arphaxad, so Shem had Arphaxad at 100. He lived 500 more years after having other sons and daughters. Arphaxad had Selah when he was 35. Arphaxad had other sons and daughters, and he lived for 403 more years. Selah had Eber when he was 30. He had other sons and daughters, and he lived for 403 more years. Eber had Peleg when he was 30. He had other sons and daughters and died or lived for 430 more years. Peleg had Reu when he was 30. He had other sons and daughters, and he lived for 209 more years. Reu had Serug at 32, had other sons and daughters, and lived for 207 more years. Serug had Nahor at 30, had other sons and daughters, and lived for 200 more years. Nahor had Terah at 29, had other sons and daughters, and lived for 119 more years. Terah was 70 when he had Nahor, Abram, and Haran. And Terah is that descendant of Arphaxad, all related to Noah. And then we detail Terah's descendants. Terah had Nahor, Abram, and Haran. Haran had a son, Lot. Haran died before his father Terah, and he died in the land of Ur. Abram and Nahor took wives. Abram, his wife's name was Sarai, and Nahor took Milcah, the daughter of Haran. So I am not able to clarify if this is the same Haran that is Nahor's brother. That would make Milcah his niece. It's not clear because it says in verse 27, Haran, the father of Milcah, father of Ischa. So it doesn't include Lot. And it also doesn't include the gender for Ischa. So maybe maybe putting Milcah and Ischa is making us understand that Haran is not Nahor's brother, who's dead now. But that's what it says. Milcah is Haran's daughter. We don't know if this is Nahor's niece or not. Then Terah took Abram, Sarai, and Lot to the city Haran. So Haran is a pretty popular name. Terah died there in Haran. Another note that I would like, a couple more things I'd like to add to chapter 11. Number one, this is again, the Tower of Babel is yet another example of humans wanting more knowledge or experience not meant for us. And then for the people building Babel to want to name themselves in case they're scattered, the it's almost like subconsciously they understood they were doing something they weren't supposed to be doing. Because why would you want to name yourself in case you get scattered if you really believe in what you're doing? So there's that. It's like we know we want knowledge that isn't meant for us, but then we also know we're not supposed to have it. So we have the sense enough to understand there's a reason why there's a separation from that, but we still want to do it anyway. And even God says, if we're one, there's nothing we can't do. Also, in verse 7, the pronoun change, that's another thing that I need to gain some clarity from God on because I don't understand why he would say, let us come down, because I don't understand how that makes sense. But I am a human attempting to understand a book written about the creator. So there's that. Also, the term Babel. Babel means nonsensical language, and essentially that's what their language was turned into, nonsensical language. So I'm going to be moving on to chapter 11.